Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horrific review. Okay, tonight we are talking about Paintball Massacre. So, this is directed by Darren Berry, and it was actually Chris Regan, who's the writer, who will be appearing on the show for our discussion of Frankenstein film. So, you mentioned that he wrote scripts for films and that, so I asked him to sort of give us an example, and sure enough, he sent me this. What really drew me to it though was the fact that the trailer received, ungodly amounts of hate. People proper got stuck in just from the trailer. And to be honest, I don't say like the level of hatred. I don't get it. It's what you expect from an indie horror movie. Like it's not trying to rewrite the book or anything. It's not pretentious. It's just dumb fun. Yeah, that was no one. So anyway, sort of checked. I went in with the expectation of this being absolutely horrendous, and yeah, there are issues, but for what it is, decent enough movie to be honest. So we start off with about a bunch of old school friends. Decide to go on a paintball trip, so they all meet in the bar the night before, and it's exactly what you would expect from people that would turn up to school reunions. Like, let's be honest, who would? Like, you've every freaking dingbat who had no friends once they left school, and school's like the highlight of their life. So that's sort of being lampooned here and parodied, if that makes sense. So you've got everybody coming in over the top. I'm Billy Big Balls. You know, I've done this, I've done that. For sake, there was one idiot who done 2 tours of Afghanistan. He's sitting, the 10,000 yards there. You haven't seen what I've seen. Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh my God, yeah. If he doesn't turn out to be a Walter Mitty, I don't know what the hell's going on. So it's a strange thing. Not people don't want to be there. Weird thing is that like loads of different accents. Like it was supposed to be a school reunion. You'd expect people to be from like the same regional area, but they've kind of got who they've got, from all over the place. And I suppose it's what you expect. So that's a bit off-putting. If you're British, you would get it. You're like, yeah, that doesn't like you've sort of Geordie's, there's a Scottish accent sort of thrown in there. There's different parts, Londoners, you name it. And you're just sort of like going, yeah, right, okay, that's not any school ever. I mean, you go to school in your local area and you sort of grow up. It's the only thing I can really bug me about because like just telegraph the fact that it's not not even remotely true. But all in all, like it wasn't horrible. Like everyone meets up. We've got the main character, Jessica, who wasn't meant to go, but she was only went because her fiance Simon was going, and then he didn't. He texted her like last minute, say he wasn't going, and they were sort of setting it up. This is sort of the whole premise. A, does Simon actually exist? Is he a figment of her imagination? Is he behind this, or is it someone else? And that sort of played through at the beginning of this. And then it just starts off as it would, with this. I don't know. I've never been to a school reunion, no intention of going to one, and I could walk past people I went to school with and not recognize them. That's just how long ago school was. It's funny that people still hold on to that. It's like secondary school. What is it? 6 years of your life, 7 out of a grand total of things, and that's only if you go on the A levels. If you leave school, go to A levels somewhere else. It's only 5 years secondary school. Yeah, I don't get that. It's a very it's a very American thing. This whole high school reunion thing, and obviously it's sort of been picked up a bit over in the UK, but not really. People tend to just get on with it. You know what I mean? And so you kind of got that awkwardness, and you feel it. I was getting a bit of a in-betweeners type comedy of everyone sort of coming in, they're, oh, I've made it in life, doing whatever. and then they sort of fall back into the same pattern they were in school. You know, that's kind of the trope being played with here. Yeah, God, who was the guy? Ben, he was all right. He was a bit over the top at the beginning, and then sort of settled down. There's another guy coming in going, "Why?" And all that nonsense. You mean there's always that one idiot, and yeah, you just think you're going to hate this. But funny enough, once they actually get to the paintballing place, and the people that play the umpires, they were actually cool. They had you thinking that they were behind all this. If that makes sense, they were luring people out, and there's some sort of cult, just the way they were getting on and going over the top. But I think it was all just misdirection. They're trying to make you think that more's going on than what it is, and it's actually just getting down to uh, the story. I'm trying to think here. There's one character. There's two characters because there's like 20 people in this movie. The only thing I hate about these type of movies is when they're like 20 odd people, you forget half the characters because there's usually like a protagonist, an antagonist, and there's a couple of supporting characters, and everyone else is just cannon fodder. But when they're all mixed in at the start, you forget their names very quickly because yeah, that's kind of their job. But you got these two that have always got a rivalry, and turns out one of them's a professional paintballer. Yes, they exist. It's like airsoft. You know, the dress up, they take it way too seriously. And yeah, if you've ever done airsoft and that's special, like you've got a special individual that goes and does that. I think it's pretty much the same with paintball. I tend not to bother, you know, especially now, can't be arsed. But he has engineered it that his professional team is the opposition, and of course, they have a player short, so he swaps over so he can beat his school rival. Did I have a school rival? No, I just didn't get on with people. Like I was bad. I was an angry wee shite. And I think what it was, I was like one of the only nerds in school, and I really nobody. I mean, I tended to make friends, but didn't have anything in common with anybody. It wasn't until I left school that I started finding my group and my friends and my interests and getting on with life. So the whole premise of this, people still hold on to the past from school and whatever. I don't get. Now, am I going to go pally friendly anymore from school? No, because I wouldn't even recognize half of them. And to be honest, if I was going to stay in touch, I would have stayed in touch. You know, that's about as much emotional resonance I have. So this sort of thing, I don't get. You know, the whole premise of it, I don't get. But maybe that's just me and my outlook. Someone who has went to school reunions or bumps into people who went to school with, this might resonate a bit more with, but it doesn't with me because it's just this whole scenario to be in it doesn't cross my radar. You know, if that makes sense. So that's where I had a bit of trouble with the movie, and it's nothing to do with the movie itself. It's just like I can't imagine myself being in that situation and how I would deal with it because I wouldn't be in that situation. I just wouldn't go. Which actually, God, when was it? Because my school's flattened now. In fact, because I went to first year in one school and it's gone, and they're all flattened. Like schools I went to are gone. I think my primary school's still up. God, that's you know what I mean. They're flattening their houses over them, so the schools aren't even there anymore. But there was some sort of anniversary. When was that? Flipping 15, 20 years ago, I think. And my sister went to it. I didn't. And then I had people randomly add me on Facebook, and it like lasted away. I'm like, nah, you know, no interest. I sort of think I've added one or two, and then I took them off again after about a week. You know, that was about it because really, I had nothing to talk to them about, or nothing to share, or tag, or whatever. You know, just that was about it. So, like I said, my whole thing with this is just the scenario. It just doesn't resonate with me, so I wouldn't be in it. So, and that's the whole point of a horror movie, isn't it? You're putting yourself in that position, and the sort of frightening aspect is okay. Oh God, I'm in this. What the hell? But essentially, what happens is the other team get wiped out. I mean, literally wiped out. with a machete or something. They all get hacked to pieces. So they go to attack the base, and then they find that the other team has been actually murdered, and the one friend has been done because, yeah, he was the annoying one. He was an optician, so he had his eyes taken out. So it turns out that the killer knows them all, knows what to do for a living, and it's tailor making the kills to the person. If that makes sense. One of them's a what do you call it, real estate person, so he gets actually impaled with a real estate sign. So quite inventive in that respect. This film does commit the ultimate crime of horror, and that it uses digital blood, and it looks horrible because there's practical effects in this too. So when you see the digital blood squirting, you're just like, oh god, no, no, please, please don't. But all in all, it wasn't like the initial meeting at the bar and just sort of getting to know each other again. That was, I mean, it was bad. But once they actually got into the shock of, oh right, they're all here to get slaughtered, and then they're working their way through it. It turns out a pretty decent movie. Like even the acting, all the actors dial it down a bit. So maybe they're overplaying it because that was their characters. Once again, I think that's a don't people get on like that at school reunions? Let me know if you've been to one and if that's what happens. There's always people trying to give it Billy Big Balls, worrying about what people who they went to school with think about them. Like I'm saying, it's just there are people like that out there, so maybe that's why. But once it actually got into the meat and bones of the movie, it was pretty decent. So it turns out that the story is focusing around Jessica, and is Simon, who didn't turn up, is Simon or is Simon not the killer? And then there's a bit of a curveball thrown in, and it doesn't get resolved. So we've got that ambiguous ending, which honestly, I think we could have. I think this is one that needed to be resolved. I think we needed the final scene and the killer reveal rather than being hinted at. I can guess what happened, but it's left, I'd rather have known. There was one scene with a coffin and that, which was a bit cliche. Everything else was inventive, and like I said, for like this is a no budget movie. To be honest, that's minimum props, using locations, and probably the main expense would be the practical effects for the kills and the paintballs. It was a bit strange, but it made sense though as well that they're the only weapons I have are the paintballs, so they tried to use it, which it's fair enough. You get hit those things, they're this thing. So you could technically use it as a weapon and hit people in the face and fend them off. So that's fair enough. So even that wasn't ridiculous. It fitted in, and when they could pick up other weapons, they did. But the whole thing was what happened at school to connect all these people, and that bit sort of unraveling as went through it. And I'll be honest, it was interesting. Like I said, it was put off at the beginning of the movie, but once you get past that and get into it, it's actually not bad. And everyone sort of cracks on, like the main cast who are part of this up to the end. They crack on to do what they need to do, and you sort of get a bit of an insight as to who they are and how they interacted with each other in school, and then the games that were played and the misdirects and what possibly could have led to this scenario. So all in all, yeah, fair play to it. No, I mean, I can't really complain for what it is. Just there's no need for digital blood. Even get a syringe and a tube, or don't have it squirting if you can't do it. But yeah, please don't use digital blood. It just is absolute shit. It is a crime. It should be illegal. Digital blood in horror movies should be illegal. If you want to do it in action movies, shitty action movies, fair enough, crack on. But no, not in horror. Horror is all about the practical effects. Digital stuff, apart from maybe an enhancement, does not belong in a horror movie, especially a low budget one. Just don't do it. You completely undermine everything you're doing. But we need more of this stuff. We need more British horror movies. For some reason, and I think the comments section on the trailer kind of told me everything I need to know. There's this perception in the UK, because of the class system over here, that creativity and art belongs to the middle classes and no one else. And it's both sides are to blame. The middle classes believe that art belongs to them and no one else is allowed to do it except them. And then the working class folks think that you have to be a middle class ponce to be artistic and creative. And they're just sort of, you know, button of heads about it. And yeah, like I said, the comments on the trailer for this movie just, it really does exacerbate that. You don't get that anywhere else. Anywhere else in the world, you have creativity, people doing it. They're like people who judge it on the movie. But when you see this and you see the sort of nastiness of comment, you see where it's coming from. Oh, it's a tax break. Oh, it's blah blah blah. No, people all over the world make movies, and there's people do this. It's only in the UK there's this reticence, and I think it was because of, like, Steve and I are covering classic horror, and the actors are all very middle class. You know, it was deemed that, you know, the great being the theater, you had to, you know, come from the right family sort of thing, and it's just part of our culture. You know, we have a great culture, but there's also an aspect to it that is really toxic and poisonous, and it kills us, if that makes sense. And that is the class system. And not even just the fact that there is a class system, it's just the way that it's so combative over here. And there's this whole thing of stay in your lane, don't step outside. So I can understand where the hatred, you know, the hateful comments and that came from about the movie. But this is like, if this was made in America by a bunch of Americans, nobody would bat an eyelid. This is something like Acrostar or 7th Street would do. I think it's more Acrostar than 7th Street, if I'm honest, because not enough nudity for 7th Street. It doesn't meet the nudity requirements for Calvin. But, you know what I mean? Those guys are cracking on, and we need that sort of vibrancy here. Like, the English love to copy the Americans, so just copy a bit of the positive attitude instead of the stupid stuff. You know, we need to get more movies made. We need to get an industry outside of Hollywood. We need to stop looking at Hollywood for everything. And it's movies like this that people make them in no budget to test their craft. Because you can't be a filmmaker in theory. You can't be a writer in theory. You have to do it. You can watch all the how-to guides of the day, but if you don't get out there and actually put pen to paper or get yourself behind the camera lens or start a podcast, like a number of people have talked to me about, oh, I'd love to start a podcast. It's like, bloody do it. Oh, but the trolls, that's, it's like, fuck them. You know what I mean? Do it. They're going to come anyway. And it just means that you're making, if people are taking notice and somebody out there is probably jealous, so you're making an impact. Yeah, this is, all in all, this is a decent movie. Like, I don't know what the budget was for it. I'll ask Chris when I speak to him, but, like, genuinely, I've seen a hell of a lot worse out there. I've reviewed a lot worse, and I just don't get what the nastiness was about it. Because all in all, I've seen loads of these, and this was done. Like I said, when you get over that initial, you know, meeting the characters for the first time, and most of the annoying ones get taken out quickly. So what is it? It's, you know, it's a standard slasher. You know, you get the annoying character. Some land a bit longer, but uh, you know, they'll they don't stay around very long. This was released in 2020. So there's a link in the description, by the way. Every time I review a movie, if I can find it, I'll stick a link in the description so you can check it out. You know, I always do that. Unless it's something I've been to the cinema for and then there's no link yet. You know, sometimes I remember and go back in afterwards when it does become available. But yeah, this is something, like I said. Oh, there's Chris on as well. But we're getting busy in the chat. this is something we've seen before. We've seen these type of movies being made. It's not. I've seen a lot worse. You know what I mean? And it's not even. Oh God, there. What was that one? It was a British one I did ages ago. Killer Weekend. Was that it? That was dog shit. That was about paintballing or airsoft, and it was absolute dog shit. This wasn't that. You know what I mean? There's a movie. I think it was called Killer Weekend. If you look in my channel, it's probably there, and it's the same premise, except it was a work study instead of a high school reunion. And that film was absolutely shit. It was meant to be a comedy, and there was not a laugh amongst it. This isn't trying to be a comedy, but there's dark humor in it, and it's a British dark humor. So I chuckled at the bits I was meant to. Um, who do you call her in this? Lauren. She's like the model, the famous model. I thought I would hate her character, but when you get halfway through the movie, you start rooting for her. Do you know what I mean? So there's a wee bit of twist and turn of, oh God, I'm going to hate this person, and then it turned out to be all right. We start off, Nathan's about to jump off a bridge before he goes in this, and another wee misdirect, is he or isn't he? We're trying to narrow down where I would say, like, the coffin scene. I didn't like that. That was far too cliche and it didn't fit. And the ending of the movie was a bit of a jumbled mess. And I mean, right, the final scene, we didn't get the reveal, and the scene just before that was I didn't appreciate. We had all this build up, and the payoff wasn't good. So that'll be my main criticism of it. We were all leading up to something, and we were getting a mystery unraveled, and we didn't get a good payoff. So if I was going to make a criticism of this movie, it would be that, and the digital blood. Like, sorry, who was it? Darren, you have to go to jail. You have to go to jail for using digital blood in a horror movie. So I have to create it's illegal. The Night Stalker, God, have I seen that? I probably have. Flipsy, I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, is that the channel Creature Features? Not the one your guy's like in a castle or something and does the sort of narrative going through it. Yeah, some of them are fun, and then they play the movie. Yeah, AA blood. No, it's illegal. It should be outlawed. Like it should be part of the Geneva Convention of Human Rights. If you're a horror fan, you should not be subjected to digital blood in a movie. Like that's traumatic. There's absolutely no need for it. The whole point of the horror genre is the mad scientists of the effects department. And if you haven't, that's why there'll be a news article coming out soon about the horror genre. And there's a reason why horror has led the way. When the channel got in trouble for the Oscars because it was special effects, for American Werewolf in London. Horror led the way. When you see what the other movies were doing for special effects at the time and the other nominees, they paled in comparison. And that's what the horror genre inspires. So using digital blood that's a cop out, and there's no reason for it. You're doing yourself a disservice as a horror creator. The whole point is you have no budget, you're scraping everything together, and you make the bloody thing work. And look at the best, Sam Raimi, for example. Look what he did to the superhero stuff. He changed the face of that. No, they can say Iron Man did it, but Sam Raimi did it first, and he comes from a horror background. So when someone like that's been brought up, that they're scraping together and they have the team spirit, so then when they do get a budget, they just go, they just amp it up because they've got that sort of creativity. I'm hoping Damien Leone, I hope he gets somebody behind him to rein him in, because he's a future, if that makes sense. He's an up and coming, and although he's been doing it for years, if he doesn't shoot himself in the foot with Terrifier 3, he's like the next person to watch out for. Robert Eggers, flip sake. He doesn't do a lot of movies, but when he does, they're noticed. if that makes sense. Robert Eggers is one of these people that puts out movie after movie. He sort of waits and takes his time, and then you know what you're getting, especially with his level of detail and half the budget of other movies because he goes right down to brass tacks and practical effects. The Witch is one of the greatest movies of all time. That can't be argued with. It's even if you're not a horror fan, just for the drama in that alone and the setting and the grimness, like that movie really takes you in. You know, that's what horror directors do. And believe it or not, you can see it, but you can see the effort was put into this. It was just a shame the way it didn't all pan out. And it managed to straddle line because this could have went really goofy. Could have went really goofy with the sort of the comedy, because the comedy was just a bit of levity here, and it could have taken itself too seriously, and it managed to just straddle like that little line in between. And that's one thing I appreciated for it. Appreciated it for. Flip's sake, I can nearly speak. That it was able to just not take itself too seriously. It was able to use comedic moments, more banter than anything else, than actual slapstick comedy. And I don't know if you have to be British to get it, but it is British humor, and it's that sort of take the piss in the face of adversity. Always find that gallows humor in the worst situations. You know, it was that sort of humor, and I get that. That's my bread and butter. Is dark, inappropriate humor. But there you go. That was it. I enjoyed it. I'll not lie, I did. For what it was, no arguments. Apart from the couple of criticisms I have. You know, if this had a budget that could have really went to town with the effects, that's really all they need to do. I think less characters, because you're sort of bombarded at the start with all these characters, and then you don't really get to know anybody until they start getting whittled down. I would think more of a cat and mouse would have been better with this. That will have a small group of people and they're being hunted, and maybe not necessarily get the first kill of the main characters till the end. We see the staff getting taken out. We see the other team getting taken out. Everything's set up that they can't get away. The guy I suppose they have served, you know, in the armed forces, he was an absolute balloon. Though I do know people that got, so maybe I actually thought he was a Walter. Yes, it's out this October. So it's going to be Christmas themed, but they're releasing it on Halloween, which is a bit strange. I thought they would have just went for a Christmas release. Why not? Just dump it right in the middle of the, because there's probably loads of stuff coming out in Halloween, and horror movies get buried in that time. If he's doing a Christmas themed, he should have just released it in December. It would have been perfect. But yeah, it's coming out this Halloween. I hope it's a good movie. I hope he's learned from Terrifier 2, the mistakes, and I hope he's dialed it back, and we're not getting another 2 hour snore fest or 2.5. How long was that bloody movie? It was over 2 hours. But you're just exhausted at the end. Come on, would somebody just finish this already? It's like what do you call it? Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. None of the the health bars will go down. You're saying, oh, for frick's sake, come on, would somebody? You know, you just feel it's like that. There you go. There's that. And thanks Michael, Chris, everyone for turning up there and saying hello. The rest of you that are lurking, I do see yous. Don't be afraid to say hi. It's all good. You know, that's what we're here for. That's why we do these live, is get everybody's opinions. And that's why I schedule these ahead of time, so that you can get a chance to watch a movie so we can talk about it. But there you go. If you've watched this, let me know what you think. And until next time, keep updated with the channel, do the type of clicky things, and remember to keep it creepy, keep it horrific.